Hey, hi everyone. Today I am with Eric Chan of he's in Singapore and I am in San Francisco. We both are colleagues in a certain sense. We both belong to GBS. GBX is stands for Global Business Exchange, which is a networking platform worldwide. And Eric and I kind of work together a lot since 2 years ago. I'm here to interview him to find out for you his background, his business, and his challenges. So let me start. Hey, Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Winston.
Eric, no, I know that you have been doing really well. You came from Hong Kong and you are now in Singapore. Can you give me a little bit about your background?
Okay, I'm the founder of a public relation communication agency based in Singapore. And I was born in Hong Kong and I moved to Singapore more than 30 years when I was much younger. This is a great opportunity for me to see and operate in a very different environment and country. So my agency actually is also more than 30 years in Singapore. It's a small boutique communication agency, but my team has been very hardworking and they have helped the agency to win many awards.
That's nice. That's very nice. So pertaining to your agency, can you give me an idea of your customer base and what do they do or what do you do for them?
Actually, I started off my agency with just a few clients, and I was very fortunate that among my portfolio client, I managed to secure some very big names. My first client in Singapore was Louis Vuitton, which everybody knows. I think everybody has a bag or something about Louis Vuitton, now LV, at home. And I had that client for 10 years. And secondly, and I have other clients in those days, most those clients who spend money and budget and communications were tobacco, alcohol. So I had the client, I worked for Marlboro for more than 7 years until the cigarette ban, no more advertising. And I did Remy Martin, and that's in those days, cognac was the name of the game in the night scene. You see Remy Martin, XO, or Louis the 13. They were very much liked by the businessman, and used to have not a very big portfolio client. And apart from LV that I had worked with 10 years, my other very much of a favorite client of mine was Montblanc. I had that Montblanc client for 8 years. So I would say that many of the clients stay with us and grow over the years. But we remained a small agency and we handle probably no more than 15 clients at a time. And I think that we can have a more intimate working relationship with the client. When I was the managing director, I was very much hands-on. Well, we don't just attend the meeting. I work on the client. I help them to write press releases. I help them to write speeches, everything that require any of writing work or strategy development, and I would also involve.
Wow, that is fantastic. Of course, you know that the Frenchman who owns uh, your first client is the richest person on earth in the world. And my understanding is he is worth $200 million, and he is a key sponsor of the Summer Olympic in Paris. So I'm sure that uh, it would add to your resume having that important of a client.
Well, in fact, they have been my like on my credential. Like if you go in for looking at everybody watching YouTube this day, if you look for um the Louis Vuitton Equator Run, which is a vintage car rally, which I did in 1995, running between Singapore and Malaysia, and we still have a lot of all these videos for some of our work on YouTube. And actually, over the years, we have moved on from doing just luxury client to more general client. Few years back, we did a lot of startup, like we launched Deliveroo in Singapore when they were no name. Now I think it's one of the famous food delivery company in the world. Interestingly, that from my own perspective, many of these big clients, big name, they may not necessarily select the largest agency in the country to do their work. Rather, they look at the profile of the management team and they look at their past work. So these are things that help us to score in the past years with many of those prestigious clients. And honestly speaking, it is a lot more interesting to work on a new brand, an unknown brand, or brand had going through some problem rather than very much established brand. I personally prefer to have those challenges.
Yes, I remember maybe a year or so ago there was a big delegation from Hong Kong, I think headed by the chief executive of Hong Kong to come to Singapore. Were you involved?
Yes, that was the first visit by the Hong Kong chief executive visiting Singapore, and that was like after COVID. It's a very important exercise that conducted by the Hong Kong government because, as we all know, that Hong Kong actually is going through a very difficult time. Economy has been affected, and anything that neighboring country, especially in Asia, may also affect Hong Kong. Of course, I mean that with the visit of Hong Kong chief executive, he's promoting goodwill. Hong Kong in the past always been a competitor, although they won't admit. Hong Kong has always been a competitor to Singapore, although Singapore may not see Hong Kong as a competition. Practically speaking, because the geographical background. So usually we all very humbly saying Singapore helped to build South Asia, and Hong Kong is the chief of North Asia. But in fact, I think in recent years, Singapore has done so much. And in my past 30 years in Singapore, I've seen a lot of changes in Singapore, not just the face of the city. In fact, the living standard, uh, the life quality has improved so much, so much. And now I think that most people would recognize Singapore is more westernized than most Asian cities. In fact, it is quite true. And I look at my daughters, they were born in Hong Kong. And when they moved to Singapore, they were only like 2, 3 years old. So as they grown up, they look Chinese. But, I think the thinking, a lot of things in their mind, they're more westernized. And most important thing is like that most people say that you see what actually is deep down inside you. Are you a Chinese or you are Ang Mo? Ang Mo means Westerner. I know Singaporean call Westerner Ang Mo, Hong Mo, red hair. Okay, so I think that for my daughter, when they speak, it is English, not Chinese. So, but the good thing about it is like they have learned a lot of nice things about the Western value, but at the same time, deep down inside, they still have a lot of Asian value. So I think they have the best of the both worlds.
Will admit that I have, when I was in Hong Kong, uh, in 1989, I was back there. IBM sent me back, and for a number of years, the IBM Hong Kong was, kind of in competition with IBM Singapore. Of course, each of us, each of the countries has, the unique background and also opportunities. But I always thought at that time that the Singaporeans were very good. They were very disciplined. They were very educated, and they speak English very well. And I can see that, you have caught up with the Singaporean very well. Now, let me ask you a personal question. Of course, that I attended, University of Wisconsin in Madison a long time ago, and I want you to share with me, a fellow alum in Singapore, Lawrence Wong, is that right? Your new
Yeah.
Prime Minister?
Yes. Yeah. My personal opinion, I think Lawrence, Prime Minister, is a very nice guy, and he come from a very humble beginning. He wasn't from a very rich or elite family like the Lee family. So I believe that he will be a very good prime minister because he understands how most Singaporeans live in Singapore and what they need. And I think he has that sort of deep understanding of the people, perhaps like the underprivileged. He would have a better knowledge. And I believe he was like also from grown up from an HDB. What is HDB? Is Housing Development Board. It's like our government subsidized housing plan. So I think 80% of Singaporeans are living in HDB. And having said that, the HDB in Singapore, actually, you wouldn't believe that they are the sort of government subsidized housing because very well built and well connected to the MRT, or in Singapore it's called MTR. And they are probably like 30% below the market value of private housing. So you can imagine for most people, especially young people who feel so secure and they don't have to worry about the future because what they know is the government has a lot of plan for them as they are growing up. And when they want to get married, they can just go to do marriage registration and then apply for government flats. And you don't have to worry about monthly mortgage because with a working couple, most of the time, the Central Provident Fund contribution would be sufficient to cover the monthly mortgage. I just cannot imagine when I was in Hong Kong, a lot of people, including myself, like spending 40% of my salary for housing mortgage. So I think the younger generation, they are a very happy generation in Singapore. But having said that, the government give them a very important duty to reproduce. Because like most countries in the world, a lot of people, they don't prefer children. If they have one child, for most family, they feel good enough. Like you seldom see them had more than 2. Okay, in Singapore, let me correct myself. Those are not Chinese, but as most of you understand that Singapore had many other races, and there are good percentage of Malay, Indian, and the other group would be what we call it Eurasian. That means like cross marriage between Asian and Westerners, right? So that the Malay tend to have a lot more children. So I believe that in the early day, maybe during my time, and when they saw me as a Chinese from Hong Kong professional, making contribution for the tax and all that, and after less than a year, they sent me a letter to invite me to become a citizen. So, but I don't think it will happen anymore. But in those days, when they want more Chinese to Singapore, they wanted me.
Well, I guess that nowadays every place wants special skilled people who have engineering degrees, business degrees. So I think you are probably more treasured than ever before. But let me ask you, I understand that you have been to Vietnam and also maybe either Malaysia or Indonesia recently. Tell me something about your coverage in ASEAN countries.
Okay, so now most of the clients, they are demanding not just service support in Singapore. They would require service support, uh, around the region, including ASEAN, like what you mentioned about Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and even beyond, because we do have clients asking support in Korea and Japan. Now, when I was much younger, I also have that sort of dream, like I want to open every agency in major cities in Asia. So after I did Kuala Lumpur, I feel very tired. Uh, I just forgotten about like client like to see us face to face. So in those days, we didn't have Zoom. And so every time the client asking for meeting, we had to go to see the client. And the client would like to visit our office. So there are a lot of face-to-face time requirement. And it's very tired. Actually, I have opened Kuala Lumpur for about 7 to 8 years. And at the time that I decided that's about it. I cannot keep flying between 2 cities every week. So I closed my Kuala Lumpur office. Well, it doesn't mean that I stop expanding the business, and I just came up with a different business model. So I thought that I don't need to have equity in that particular agency partner. So what we have done was we established affiliate agency, i.e., like we don't have an equity in that agency, but we have regular business dealing with them. And these are the people we know and trusted. And many of them have been working with us for more than 10 years. They're as good as our own colleagues. So my plan as of now actually is because of the regional requirement or sometimes global requirement, we just need to establish an affiliated network. And so that is one reason you asked me about why I've been going to Indonesia, to Vietnam. And basically, I'm trying to look at the market and also trying to identify possible business partners there. And nowadays, public relation agency, communication agency, they are very dynamic. In those days, if you ask me, yes, we do press releases. We do press conference, press briefing, like what we did for the chief executive of Hong Kong. And we do a lot of promotion. We do a lot of specific event, like store opening, anniversary celebration for some of the major brands. But now you require a lot of work into social media, digital campaign, and working with influencer other than the traditional media. In fact, the number of traditional media in Singapore or in other countries, they're getting less and less. I mean, most of us now don't even read physical newspapers. or magazine. But although some of the luxury magazines still insist on physical copy, but for daily newspaper, you see probably 99% are online now. So because of this requirement, I think that I'm looking for regional partner rather than opening my offices.
That's a smart move. Well, I think you are probably, sooner or later, you after contributing 30 years to your business, you may want to slow down a little bit, maybe do something else. So what
Mm.
is your continuity plan? To hand over your business to someone?
Okay, that I came up with a interesting slogan for the company. On the back of my business card, I put down, "We work with talented people." So some of the clients have been like joking with me, and so I'm talented. Would you like to work with me? So of course, what I meant is I would like to work with talented staff. And in fact, my personal philosophy, and although we're a small company, we may not be able to pay very extremely high salary to poach good staff, but I would utilize the best I could to hire the best possible staff in my team. So the line, "We work with talented people," is among those people we hire, they are all talented. They're all talented. Because they're so talented, it saves a lot of my time. So I can hand over my responsibility or most of my responsibility to them. And I don't mind hiring somebody who's smarter than me. And I feel excited when I see somebody who's so smart. And there are times that when I met a manager in a hotel, and I think she was so well presented and speak extremely well. Next day, I called her and said, "Would you like a job? Would you like a job in the PR agency?" So I can tell, and from my years of experience, I can tell who are the people suitable in our line of business, and those people who are talented. But one thing I must emphasize: all our staff, they're well trained, and also they have to write very well, because in a line of business we have to write a lot of stuff.
I understand. As a matter of fact, I want to share with you my impression of you when I first met you on Zoom about 2 years ago. And I don't know whether you remember that. Carlotta Wong she gave a presentation of her company, and then you were invited. And I still remember you were riding a stationary bicycle or something like that. And then
Yeah, yeah.
you were also doing business at the same time. I thought you were conducting business at the same time. So that really impressed me that you are the guy who can handle multiple things at the same time. So anyway, it has been a good a talk with you, and I appreciate that. But I want to give you one chance, last chance to share with us something that is inspirational, something you learned in your life that you want to leave it to the others. Is there anything you want to share, before we finish this interview?
I have been trained in the creative business, and my first job was a advertising agency copywriter. So I write a lot of stuff, and I believe that um, whether we live or we work, we should be original and creative, and do things in a different way, do things differently.
Okay, all right. I'll listen to that, and I'll try to use that myself. So, but anyway, thank you very much. And by the way, I hope that this interview is a good one. And next time, if you want, you can be the interviewer and interview somebody else. So for today, I thank you very much for you to spend time with me to do this. So thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Winston, and I hope you have a nice weekend and enjoy your July the 4th.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.